meditate on 5 senses, Panchedriya meditation. Awareness on the function of sense organs, moderation on the sense organs that optimizes the consumption of biomagnetism. Our spiritual consciousness is enhanced over material consciousness. These are the key benefits from this meditation. Okay, how did we get this, or what function did we use for this meditation? The mind, right? Or the thought process. We used our thought to undergo this beautiful meditation process. Okay. How special or how powerful is this mind? What are the capabilities of this thought or the thought process has? Let's have a small demonstration of this. Just think of the Earth, the planet we live. It has a circumference of about 40,000 kilometers. It has a mass about 6 into 10 to the power 24 kgs, or about 6,000 trillion tons of mass that is rotating at a speed of 1,650 kilometers per hour. And this is circling the sun in its orbit about 112,000 kilometers per hour. That is the speed, that is the mass, and distance from sun is about 150 million kilometers. This is the vastness of the Earth. The magnitude of speed and mass that is moving around. Okay. But all this vastness of Earth is negligible when we are comparing this to the sun. That is about 1,000 times bigger than Earth. The space is filled with millions of stars that are many times bigger than the sun. In this vast field, there are countless of stars, sun, various suns or solar systems, which are accommodated in this universe. Such is the vastness of the infinite. We call it the infinite. This we can visualize by thought. Now, on everyday matter that we see on this earthly items, elements, everything is made up of some element. Science says it is a molecule, atom, and atom has its own components or subatomic particles, neutrons, protons, electrons. If you take an example, carbon atom, it has protons and neutrons in the nucleus and 6 electrons outside. Electron is the known subatomic particle to science, which has a mass of 9 into 10 to the power minus 31 kgs. 10 to the power minus 3 is gram. So that is the miniature, or that is the tiniest particle known to science, electron. It has no shape. It is like point. The shape cannot be defined. It has only a mass, and we take as electron has a negative charge of -1. These are the scientific terms we use for defining electron. These, based on these subatomic particles or the constituent, the materials differ. Different elements or different atoms have different configuration, but the key ingredient is the electron as per science. Okay. This we could visualize. Mind could think of this tiny electron and its invisible functioning. We cannot see even molecule or atom, but electron we could visualize. The mind could shrink and shrink, take the shape of the electron, becomes the tiniest of the tiny. When we think of the vast universe, mind expands and expands and takes the shape of the universe and becomes bigger than the universe. The constellations, the stars, suns, and all planets are contained inside the expanded state of mind. This is the nature of mind, which is so amazing. It can become bigger than the biggest, and it can become subtler than the subtlest. That is the mystery That is the wonder. The greatness of man lies in the fact that he is the master of this magnificent instrument, this mind or the thought process. In spite of possessing such a marvelous apparatus device, man is not free from evils. In spite of having such a powerful tool, we are subjected to all our day-to-day routine problems, worries, complexes. These are the evils. There are 6 evil temperaments, what we see, it come across. These 6 evil temperaments lead to sins. Why? This is only because of lack of knowledge. Because one does not understand the real nature and value of one's own self. The ability and power of thought is not understood fully or to the fullest extent. So our today's discussion is based on the thought process. Let us get a refresher on the thought process as taught by Maharishi. We will be discussing what is the origin of thought, how the thought process is functioning, what are the features of this thought, scientific explanation, the power and durability of thought. Thought is really powerful and it's highly durable. So we need to analyze our thoughts. And why do we need to analyze? This will be the topic for discussion today. This topic is extracted from books written by Maharishi, Yoga for Modern Ages and Yoga for Human Excellence. From the petty actions like talking, I'm talking now, or anyone, we are just taking it very simple. We don't need much of thinking, just talk. Okay. To the highest level of innovations, even in the past, whatever the huge innovative things that has happened, everything starts with a thought process, or thought is the initiating factor. The Stone Age man who invented wheel, he has also a thought started from a thought, or the thought provoked from an apple, whether it's a falling apple or a partial bitten apple. If we say that, you definitely your thought process will run around 2 things. All those 2, the falling apple on a person seeing a falling apple, or a person comes with a bitten apple as logo. These are all revolutionary changes in the human race. So thought can bring a change for in the whole universe. It could be bad or it could be very noble way, noble change. Where does this thought originate? In the mind, right? Yeah. But why at all these thoughts arise? Let us observe the mind and its functioning. While asleep, a mosquito bites. The response is so instantaneous and no prior thought process is involved. Immediately we just tap it and finish. So we don't need any thought process for that. These are called instinct actions. So we are excluding those instinct actions. It is not processed by a thought process or by not a action of thought. This is instinct. So those are the exceptions. Except those instinct actions, remaining all rest of the activities are invariably preceded by a thought. Thought is the noun, thinking is the verb. Both are interlinked. The moment thought, it comes with an action. So every thought will lead to some action. These are interlinked. First of all, why a thought arises? As per Maharishi, there are 6 factors or reasons for the thoughts to arise. One is from the force of needs. Second, from the force of habits, from the force of environmental conditions, from the force of others' imposition, from the force of heredity, and from the force of evolutionary process of divinity. Thoughts may be caused by any one or a combination of those, any one of 1, 2, 3, or even all 6. So these are the various factors which are leading to thoughts to arise. If we recollect the laws of motion or Newton's first law, why we have been seeing the word force of need or force of habits. Newton's first law states that if a body is at rest at moving, at rest or moving at a constant speed, it will continue to remain at rest or continue to remain in motion. That is called inertia of rest or inertia of motion, until it is acted upon by a force. The force is the initiating factor to bring a change. If the brain or ideal person is completely silent, absolute nil, no thought process, no action, nothing. The moment there is a change, that change is coming from a thought. That thought, that's why probably the word force has been used. The force of needs, force of habits. Because the moment the change is initiated, a force is there. That is what is the change force or force of which is bringing the change, thought process. So these are the various forces we are categorized as responsible for causing the thought. Thoughts can be of various categories. Let us just have a quick example of force of needs. Time is evening 5 p.m. I am looking for some snacks. Thought arises to search for a snack because I am hungry. Okay, it is motivated by need. The hunger needs to be satisfied. I had a good lunch, late lunch. I'm not hungry, in fact, but looking around some snacks. It is motivated by habit. Evening 5 p.m. That's my habit to have something. Okay. Suppose I'm neither hungry nor eating time. It's not even 5 p.m. Or it is not my particular time to have that food. I'm in a party with some friends, or I'm in a flight. Flight attendant is serving all others. So, okay, all others are eating. I will also join them, having my meal with a group of persons, get motivated or get influenced with others. Okay, that is the environment factor we continue to take. So that is what our thought process gets influenced by seeing the environment. Or it could be a combination of all three. Taking that action. Force from others' imposition. You are visiting a friend or a relative house. Typically in our part of tradition, the culture, if you visit, they offer lots of food, lots of specialties, delicacies. This is completely specially made for you. This is the best item here. You won't get it in your place. Come on, have it. So these are the imposition forces which are forced upon by some other person. The thought of other person, no, we should offer him or we have to give him. Or that is the thought process working from some other person, but it is implemented on another person. So this is what is the force of thought from other person acting on another person. Another example, this would be more easy to capture or easy to, because every one of us invariably goes through this process at one point or time. When we go around market, this is not our intended to buy that particular item. We are going around for some other purpose. Discounts, sale, free, buy one, get one offer. These are the advertisements we come across. These are intended or created from the thought process of a marketing person or a salesperson. He is imposing his thought to attract a customer. This is how a onlooker becomes a buyer, ends up becoming a customer or buyer. Most of us get succumbed to this kind of promotions or advertisements. We get influenced. The thought, which was not initiated from us or not based on our need, but it is a clear proof that power of the force of others' imposition, others' thought process can influence others. These are the direct force of imposition. Even sometimes we come across indirect force of imposition. Someone wearing a diamond necklace, others get influenced. Someone going through a very showing off a car or bike, we get influenced. Oh, okay, that's a beautiful car. Why don't I also have it? So these are the positions, or we get influenced by even this indirect force of others' acts. The force of heredity. Many times we see children, even they don't have the habit, or they haven't picked up any particular taste, developed in taste, but they have a liking for a particular kind of taste, sweet or spicy, or liking for a particular item, or a dislike for some. These things have developed from the genetic factor. They don't have any particular influence of taste or habit of taste, but that comes from the genetical inheritance. So they get that particular taste, liking or disliking. This is what is. The desires get imprinted not only in the body cells of the individual or brain cells, but in the seed cells of the individual also. Those seed cells are getting passed on to the next generation. Next generation also gets this thought process implemented through the genetical inheritance. This is the example of from the force of heredity. Now, let us look at the most important one, from the force of the evolutionary process of divinity. This is the one where divine intervention for the progression to take place. Let us look at a few examples. The names, famous names we have heard of: Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Mahatma Gandhi. These personalities are so famous. We don't need to give any more introduction on this. They are remembered for generations, for the reasons that they liberated the generations from slavery. It is the general will of the people or a generation that gets represented through one individual. Grief in the hearts of people accumulates, that gathers strength and momentum, and as a resolution, one individual with the appropriate qualities is taking the lead to provide mitigation or provide a solution or solace to the great mass of people or generation. That is called a Superman with indomitable courage, skills, boundless energy. This is what leads the people to their cherished goal. We come across many epics or stories or the divine talks where the divine intervention as a savior against the human adversities are referred to. We call it avatar. Behind even the 10 avatars, the only ideology is a generation of human beings see an entity with superpower that brings forward the change. They are called the harbingers or the avatar purusha. So Marcy says, it is not the God who wills avatar into existence to achieve a mysterious purpose. It is only a generation of human beings who by their indomitable thought force have utilized the omnipresence divine power to incarnate their ambition. Just I'll underline those words again. By their indomitable thought force have utilized the omnipresence divine power to incarnate their ambition. So basically, we are talking about the indomitable thought force that is getting strength with the divine power and fulfilling the ambitions. Okay. How this mechanism works, we will have a small understanding. This is a huge concept, but how this concept is working, or what is the mechanism behind this? Thought is an energy wave. We all know that from our basic weather theory. We have been coming across that biomagnetism. Thought is energy wave, a biomagnetic wave. It is made up of life force or energy particle. This wave can go beyond space and time. Biomagnetism and universal magnetism are complementary to each other. These are the basic principles so that we will go to the understanding how things are working. Thought or energy wave from a person travels all over the universe and ultimately merges in universal magnetism. Being Vedatri, we all know that universal magnetism is closely connected to biomagnetism of every living being. So the thoughts of one becomes common to all. Thoughts share a common platform. In our materialistic world, this can be compared something like a VSAT or a very small aperture terminal that is used for communication. For the bank ATMs, bank ATM is located somewhere in the remote part of a village or a countryside where it is there. But we are able to use our devices, access our system, or access the network to have transactions, financial transactions. How? This remote, somewhere in the top of the mountain, the remote ATM is there. It is communicating through a VSAT system, going through the satellite system from the sky, and from there it is getting connected to the base where it is connected, headquarters, and from there the communication is getting established. We are having the access to the system data. Data and the common system is accessible through the satellite communication. This is the example for a materialistic world, how the common platform is being shared. Okay. Similarly, those meeting the same mental frequencies as the originator, the imprints of thought wave reflects back as thought. Suddenly we think of our most dear one, and dear ones also think of what. I think of my mother, yes, thinks, yes, I'm expecting a call from my son today. This is what is the thought waves get interlinked when the frequencies, mental frequencies are matching together. So this is what is the small example, how the similar frequency mental waves can interact or can share the common platform. Once the thought is initiated, the subsequent action is deed or action. Action or deed is taking place. This is the mechanism how thoughts lead to actions, not necessarily by the same person. The same person's thought is somewhere in the universal magnetism, and someone with the similar frequency can get that thought and get it executed or implemented. So thought waves can lead to actions, may not be by the same originator, can be by someone else also. Let us get some more salient features about this thought or the magnetic wave. Thought waves remain till to action. Nature manifests as thought, and thoughts are part of the nature. This is nothing different. Thought is again part of biomagnetic wave. It is part of the universal magnetism. So basically, in short, nature is manifested as thought. Thoughts are part of nature. Evil thoughts or thought waves to radiate. There is no limitation or restriction. Equally, they are spreading around and they can radiate around. And those evil waves also can get effect into action. Noble thoughts bring a noble change or a major change in the noble way. That is how we can see the various thought process from our past. We can see great inventions or great things, changes. Thoughts have changed our lifestyle, changed our, impacted our life in a better way. Even if you take the thought process of Maharshi, which is what we are now here discussing, or we are now having our enlightening sessions to discuss, the thought process created from a person is getting manifested in others. This is what we are here now doing. This is the thought process which is getting implemented or executed with widely across various other persons. In short, thought waves are powerful, they are durable, and they can change the world. So, good deed, good thoughts are to be encouraged, as thoughts lead to actions. Similar thoughts of many people accumulate, gather strength, becomes powerful and durable, ultimately gets implemented. But is this concept really convincing? Are we able to understand? or are we able to get convinced? As Maharshi always encourages, to understand the concept not just by blind faith. Let us understand with the help of scientific explanation how the thoughts of people can get accumulated or gather strength. All of us, we know about laser. We have heard about laser. Laser, the light force or the energy from light, which is getting more energetic. Okay. Light is to start with, light is a simple electromagnetic wave. Electromagnetic wave is the one which is having a wide spectrum, wide various range of high frequency, low frequency, various frequencies. That is what is electromagnetic wave. Among that electromagnetic wave, the small portion or certain frequency, certain wavelength, that is taken as light or visible light, where what we can see. Beyond that particular visible range, outside that range, we cannot see. Those are outside the visible range, we call them. Wavelength, just between the two peaks, the distance, that is the wavelength. The light, what we see in general, white light, it is a mixture of various wavelengths of light. When we put it into the prism or when we see it into this, we get all 7 colors, we call it. Those are all having 7 different colors. Those 7 different colors are because of 7 different wavelengths. For example, blue light has a shorter wavelength. Red light has a longer wavelength. So wavelength here longer means, between the two peaks, the length is long. So the wavelength is longer. The blue or the violet, basically this is in the form of Vibgyor, violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, red. This is the one having the longest wavelength. This is the one having a shorter wavelength. So this wavelength is shorter. When this is combined, it is in a combination of all these colors that we see it as white light that has a particular frequency or particular wavelength. Now, imagine the scenario when these wavelengths are replaced by a same color or same particular wavelength, red. Here we are taking red. These similar wavelengths are made to travel together. So the energy here is intensified or amplified or magnified. This is called light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation. The light radiation is amplified with a stimulation to ensure that only one particular wavelength of light is getting utilized, the stream. So this is called laser, or we know, we have heard about the laser and its effects on its capabilities, all these things. But how the laser works is a particular stream or a particular frequency or wavelength are interlinked, right? So particular wavelength of light is taken, which is gathering strength or getting strength stronger and stronger. This laser becomes very narrow because we have cut down the remaining other frequencies. For the sake of each, we are showing in a different pattern, but it's all in a combined one. This is gaining energy. These are very powerful, very bright. This can be focused to a tiny spot because there is no distraction. There is no deviation. So that is how it is very stronger one, and it is having a high travel or high durable. This can, because it is not distracted, this is focused. Okay, this is only in this example we can see a small portion of this is visible, right? Beyond this the frequencies are higher, beyond this the frequencies are lower, or wavelengths are longer, wavelengths are shorter. So these are all outside the visible spectrum. This we call it microwave. This again another concept called microwave or major. Before laser we had major or microwave amplified stimulated emitted radiation. This is again a microwave portion. This portion of the wave, we are taking a particular frequency or a particular wavelength, getting amplified, getting stimulated, and the radiation. This radiation is much more stronger because this is having a lower wavelength, higher wavelength or lower frequency. This is much more stronger and much more powerful. Now, why all this discussion? If this is having a wavelength which is higher compared to the visible light, so this measure is much stronger. And measure or microwave stimulated, amplified stimulated one is used for satellite communication. We use this for satellite communication so that it is very powerful, very stronger. It can travel long distances without any distraction or without any deviation. This is again, now why I'm telling all this is the biomagnetic wave speed is the fastest. There is no speed that can be calculated or compared or can be evaluated. This is so fast, it is incalculable. Speed is again a function of wavelength and frequency. This is what science says. So if the speed is so fast, the wavelength will be so high. If that wavelength is so high, if those such wavelengths are getting stimulated, amplified, and the radiation or the energy from that will be so high, so intense. This is what we are trying to see. This crosses across the universe, gets implemented or executed when similar frequency wavelengths are, similar frequency or wavelength waves are getting united or getting coherent. This is what the keyword is, coherent. The coherent waves or coherent forces get implemented or get powerful, more and more powerful. This is what is trying to give a scientific explanation. So these are so powerful. We need to be cautious. Every human function is through thoughts, words, and deeds that originate in the mind. The thought that arises in the mind is the originator for the words and deeds. The nature of the mind and its function should be analyzed and understood properly for success in life. These are the key requirements or needs. Why should we analyze? Here we are success in life. We mean the achievement that gives everlasting happiness to self, family, and society. Success is not in the sense of a salesman who gave a sales promotion, he achieved his target, or he could sell his product by imposing his thought on someone else. No, not that kind of success, or not the materialist success we are talking about. The success, even our Muthu sir gave a lecture few weeks back, that is there on the YouTube. Success is nothing but the everlasting happiness to self, family, and society. So this can be achieved by analyzing our thoughts on a regular basis. The thought, why it got initiated, we have to think of the consequences. Thought is executed or implemented. What would be the consequence? Is the consequence acceptable to me or not? Thought that can give pain or create problem, if allowed to develop, should be avoided or eradicated totally. How to eradicate these unnecessary or useless thoughts? We have to follow repeated auto suggestions not to allow such unnecessary thoughts, keeping in mind of the adverse consequences those can have. The key here is thoughts can be corrected only through thoughts, and thoughts alone can be used for refining thoughts. This is what the process called introspection. This is really a beautiful explanation and or the comparison. Mind is the spectator and it is watching its own drama. The drama is the within the mind itself. The stage is inside the mind. Actors are nothing but the different reflections from the mind itself. Okay, from the mind, if we pass through the prism, like mind's prism, light passes through prism, 7 colors are coming out. The mind passes through this prism, and there are other thought processes coming again as thought goes through the mind and come prism kind of thing and comes out again with various thoughts. Mind is the director of the drama. owner of the stage or the producer, what we call it in the terms producer, director, actor, everything, script writer, everything is within the thought itself. Everything is inside the mind. That is how the mind or the thought process play multiple roles. This is where the constant awareness state is the only method to ensure that thoughts are pure and noble. The moment we forget, thoughts keep coming in. So a constant awareness or constant manner, we have to be aware so that the consequences, the results gather strength and get implemented. For this, the only needs or only doables are constant introspection, meditation, and analysis of thoughts. With this process, this will bring, what is the outcome of this, doing all this, is to get contentment, tolerance, philanthropy, chastity, parity, forgiveness. These are the 6 benefits or should haves. This is nothing but the absence of those 6 evil temperaments, which has been pointed out by Maharishi, or what we see on everyday basis, the 6 evil temperaments: greed, anger, miserliness, immoral, sexual passion, vanity, vengeance. This is what is the 6 evil temperaments. These 6 evil temperaments eventually result in the 5 sins. So all these can be avoided only through this changing the thought process. Change the thought process, that will lead to contentment. If you are contented, absolutely no concerns. If you have tolerance, no conflict. If you have philanthropy, you think good for others, absolutely no concern, there is no harm. Chastity, absolutely no rivalry, no jealousy, no anxiety, or no other negative thoughts will be coming on this. Parity, think equal of others. You do not show off, you lie purely on the basis of need basis. Forgiveness, if at all there is someone who has committed, you forgive against your thoughts. If something is going negative, still you forgive, accept, absolutely no conflict at all. This is how the things which lead to a peaceful life or a more successful life. As an individual, quality and progress of individual depends on mind. This is what is the key. The quality and progress of mind is dictated by thought. As the saying says, what you think you become. So the quality and progress of individual depends on mind, and the quality and progress of mind is dictated by the thought. Thoughts can be refined only through thoughts. This is what we call it as introspection. Such kind of understanding will help us to moralize, regulate our actions, utilize our mental powers to be creative to the best extent possible. This will streamline our minds if all are thinking alike in the similar way with the noble thoughts. Then gradually the things will be noble all around us, leading to a permanent peace and lasting happiness all across the universe. Every individual whose thought is, or quality of thought is pure, that is shows the personality of the individual. Progress of individual depends on the nature of mind. That is what we are trying to say. The noble thoughts will bring noble changes, and subsequently the humanity at large is getting benefited or getting a blissful, peaceful life. But still, why the things are not happening, or why this is not the way we expect, or not the way what we see here is not in line with this. This is because of we forget the state of awareness, or we do not have an understanding. The lack of understanding of, or the knowledge, the real knowledge, leads to The evil thoughts keep cropping in. This is what leads to the evil deeds. This is what we see, the evil temperaments fully in and around our universe or in the society that we live in. The lack of understanding or knowledge that leads to, we are forgetting the constant awareness state that leads to this kind of evils. Understanding or knowing, that is what is the key for the things to change. From the minuscule atoms to entire galaxy, everything is a bunch of energy particles. That is what the absolute truth or Maharshi's concept is. Anything what we see, science we say electrons made up of atoms, molecules, everything, the entire galaxy. The absolute truth is in the form of each and everything that we see, whether it's a small electron or it's a mountain. Everything is part of this absolute truth. The energy or the truth that is manifested in all these shapes. Only shapes are different, whether it is, or names are different. Because of the different shapes, we have given different name, whether it's a mouse or a mountain or a mobile or a man. These are all different shapes, or different names given, but everything is a manifestation of absolute truth. This is the key, or this is the truth that needs to be remembered or should not be forgotten. The quality of sensing, that is what we call it, the five senses, has a particular ability to distinguish. But when these five senses, the consciousness is limited. Our consciousness is not developed fully when we are using only these five senses. We continue to enjoy or take the pleasure from these five senses only. The consciousness is limited. When that sixth sense develops, the consciousness crosses the sensing barriers or materialic sense barriers. That is called the sixth sense. That is what the truth passing through the states of energy and mass manifests itself as consciousness. This can be summed up as being, becoming, knowing. The static or the primordial state is the being. That is what is the being, static, absolute truth, or the energy, the basic life force energy. That is the being, that is the truth. When it is functioning, when it is in the functioning state, it is functioning, that we call it as becoming. And when we realize, we know that this is what is happening, this is what is the truth behind all these shapes, that is functioning. Once we realize, that is the consciousness, that is the knowing state, being, becoming, and knowing. So this is what is the essence of today's discussion. Let us conclude. Before we conclude, we'll just recap. Thought is powerful and long lasting. Thoughts can get implemented, even if thought by one can be implemented by others. Analyze the thoughts to ensure purity. That is what we call it introspection. Everything in the universe is a manifestation. That is what is the truth consciousness. The moment we understand everything is the truth consciousness, we are conscious, we are aware, then everything is in line. And when we forget, we lose the state of awareness. The thoughts get corrupted or deviated, evil thoughts get cropped in. So understand the absolute reality. This is what is in all the forms of shapes we see, the constant awareness or truth consciousness. With this constant state of awareness, the noble thoughts will be bringing the changes in a noble way. if we just quickly see the example, thought process by Maharshi is leading to getting implemented in various ways. If we take a small example, the patients group, what we have in our small group, there are various groups. In one small group, we have 38 people. These 38 people, we are seeing the count, everyday count is 0, 0, 0, 0, 1 or 0 for the last several days, or last several months rather, why days, several months. This is what is the group of people are showing zero deviation or 100% tolerance on their everyday life. This is not initiated by thought of any one person or small person. This is by the divine vision by Maharshi, his thought process that people will have a blissful life. This is what is getting executed or implemented. This is a small example of how thought of one can get implemented, executed by others. So to conclude, this is what the thought process needs to be analyzed. Thought is the key thing for anything and everything on this earth, getting executed, implemented, all the innovations, everything what we see around is initiated with a small thought. With that, I conclude. Be blessed by the divine. Be blessed by the divine. May the whole world enjoy prosperity, happiness, and peace. May the whole world enjoy prosperity, happiness, and peace. Thank you.